So I was thinking about, like, I know you as a wood turner and as a someone who supports the artists and the arts and the field in broadly and specifically, which I think is really cool. But I want to know more about Harvey and what makes you tick.
What makes me tick? I like making things. Mm-hmm. That's basically what I've always done. I've been fortunate in that my business permitted me to make things. Mm-hmm. I walked and the business followed, which is a great way to go through life.
Did your upbringing prompt a specific reference point for you in your work? Like, was it informed by certain concepts or certain environments? Like, did somebody give you a set of tools when you were little? Did your dad tinker, or was he not able to use tools? Like, sometimes
It was not an issue.
okay.
I've always been building things. I mean, I built scooters out of roller skates. I built a kayak in the basement of my house in Valley Stream. Always building, making things. Not building, making things. Changing engines, doing mechanical stuff. Mm-hmm. So I've always made things. My business required me to create and design lots of things. I built shops for various products. We have a new product. My shop required me to, my business required me to develop assembly lines. Mm-hmm. We're making curtains. So first you do this, then you do this, then you do this. So the material in the shop has to move from place to place, so that each product needs a different assembly line. So I was constantly rebuilding my business from the inside, because products have a shelf life.
Right.
You develop a product, it goes more and more popular, sales go great, sales level out, and then something else comes along and mm-hmm. You need another thing, and another thing. That's why this thing about Elon Musk so intrigues me, because he got to build assembly lines to build machines, to build cars, to build things. And that's all a very specific process. And if you don't do it in the right order, it doesn't come out.
Were you like an active kid in school? Did you? No.
What the defining fact of my life mm-hmm. that I didn't really know were these. I've always been hard of hearing, always. Just didn't know it. So getting asked a question in school without knowing what question was asked, and it also, I didn't know it until much, much later in life, and it did color my life. Mm-hmm. No good in conversations, because I spent so much time trying to listen to the words, I didn't hear the sentences.
Wow.
See? Yeah. So, as a result, I didn't have much interaction with people. Wow. On a personal level,
Right.
No friends, no hanging out and sitting and bullshitting, because I don't do that very well. Learned to read lips, but that wasn't really sufficient to carry on conversation. And hearing aids at time back then were like this big box you put on your chest, and you had this big, it was terrible. Very stigmatizing, and even if I had known it, I probably wouldn't have wanted to wear those things.
Right.
See? So that's why hearing aids over the years, they've been trying to make them smaller and smaller and less conspicuous and quieter, Mm-hmm. But then again, people they wear all kinds of stuff now.
Right.
You wear earbuds. Mm-hmm. So
There is no stigma
anymore.
No, absolutely not.
Just like glasses were a stigma at one point.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So
yeah,
that is the one issue that I've come to understand was really a defining factor in my life.
right. Shaped the way
I saw the world.
And entertained yourself.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, because there's not good with people. I mean, I ran a business.
Right.
I had 100 employees. I knew everybody there. And they came to my office, we had conversations, but that was close one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
Put me in a group with 4 or 5 people, chatting, goes away.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that was the issue.
That's interesting.
That is the one. If you want to know the call of my life,
Yeah.
the call of my life is silence.
Okay. Well, that's really strong, and obviously has had an amazing result. So right? Like
I don't know if they're related.
No.
But I don't know if I'd have spent so much time on myself if I hadn't been.
Right.
You know.
Gotcha.
So
So did you like reading and tinkering, or did you like to just go and explore without a plan?
Yeah.
And then did you go to college?
I got out of high school with a 65.1 grade average.
Okay.
65 got you out. Went to Farmingdale Tech School. Again, mechanical technology. Mm-hmm. So we had machine shop. So I learned how to use all the machines, lathes and milling machines and surface grinders and on and on and on. So machines always been.
So when you got there and you had all these machines, was it exciting like the candy store, or was it intimidating? Was it?
No, like... I don't even think I realized what was going on about it. Because at that point I was totally, I would say, oblivious. You know, I was probably a really strange kid when you think about it.
Were there any teachers, instructors, or students that like inspired you at that point? No.
Nobody. I have absolutely no heroes. The first person I could actually feel that I admire would be Elon Musk. And that's only in the past 4 or 5 years.
Wow.
You know, so past that, I don't think there's anybody I said, oh, I want to be like him. Oh, I want to be, I admire that person. I don't think I found anybody that I would say I admire.
I think about my grandmother, who was born in 1884.
I was born in 1888.
And she was 80 when I was born. And she lived to be 99. And she lived with us like the last 4 years of her life. And she would tell me stories about going to the World's Fair and seeing the first flight in Paris or something, you know. And I think about for the last, 70, 80 years, like the world has changed so much, like not just the hearing aids, but so much of the technology.
Everything, different world.
And I think about how you seem to always be curious and exploring.
Yeah, well, curiosity is important. Yeah. If you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah.
I remember sitting with my grandmother in her room down in Miami Beach, Collins Boulevard, and we were sitting watching television, watching John Glenn go up in a rocket. And here is a woman who was born before the cotton gin was invented. Forget about the telephone and electricity.
Right.
I mean, we're talking about the cotton gin.
Right.
And here she was watching a man go to the moon.
Right. Right.
And in the span of when she was born until that, and she went on from there, but just the idea that in her lifetime, the Wright brothers and the cotton gin and
TV,
and no, forget about TV, radio.
Yeah.
The concept of that was amazing.
So kind of circling back to you explaining your childhood as being sort of isolated, like you've been in a retreat, almost like the way people would physically remove themselves to an environment that would quiet around
Go
them
in your
to,
shop, close the door, and the world goes away.
right.
You know that.
Right. And to, I think one of the struggles in modern day is that there is so much visual noise, that so many distractions, so many possibilities, that it's really hard to specifically focus and stay focused. But you clearly have that ability very well honed in the ability to make work that's as intricate
Yes.
as what you do. And that's your superpower.
My superpower.
So many artists are like almost obsessive about what they do, and that's what makes greatness. If you think about the Greeks when they built the Pantheon, it's like that strive for perfection and
Yes.
to figuring it out.
That is it. You know, once this gets finished, it's done.
Right.
I did all I need to do here. I figured out all the issues, and then I can make a piece, and it comes out like that. See?
Wow.
But to get that, I had to do a whole bunch of other stuff. So, but once the piece is finished, it's irrelevant, really, unless I'm selling. But I'm not selling. Even when I was selling, I was ready to get rid of it. I got a room downstairs full of stuff, you know. It had no value to me other than to look at it and say, where can I take it from here?
Right. So I think that I have sort of had great conversations with artists about that the process is the joy.
The joy is in the process. Yes, absolutely. The joy is in the making, not in the having. Because the having, you have whatever you want, but the making is the challenge. You know, how do I get this here shape? How do I get this together? How does it see when when you're working, you got to do in process. Otherwise, you can't get back. Mm-hmm. Especially with wood. I mean, once with clay is a little bit easier. You take a little bit more off your stuff, a bit back on, and it's gone already. But wood, once it comes off, it's gone.
Right.
And because wood moves, it's live, you can't get back to here once you get to here, because this is already moved.
Right.
So you got to do this perfectly all the way down, not think, I'll come back and get that later. Mm-hmm. There is no later. It's either now or not. And you have to project where you're going to be 2 or 3 steps, like chess. Mm-hmm. You have to project out the moves you're going to make. I never thought about that one.
It's so interesting when you start to kind of break it down, right?
I never thought about it. It is like chess. Mm-hmm. You have to be 3 or 4 steps ahead of where you are. At the same time, you got to be present.
Right.
Because you're not present, for woodworkers, it means that the gouge goes chunk.
Right.
For a chess player, it means that mate.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So you have to be aware of the present and also be aware of the steps to get to the future.
When I look at your work, I always see a very strong sense of form, like a sense of proportion.
Oh, absolutely. Critical. And your eye has a way of knowing whether it's got the right, about form.
Yeah.
You got to have the right curve. You got to have the right support. This can't be too thin, too thick. Mm-hmm. The handle got to be whatever it is. Or the top can't be too big or too small.
Right, the proportion, like you have a really strong sense of proportion, and a lot of times when you're in art school, those are the tools they're trying to give you.
Yeah.
And so my grad school professor would say, all artists have an intuition, a design sense and intuition. And untrained artists, you can typically show 30% of their work because it's designed and the proportions and the harmony and the balance is there. Right, trial and error. And then, a trained artist that has the toolkit to analyze, okay, oh, there's a pure half or a quarter here. This is like, static. You'll be able to show 90% of their work. And I think that, like, when looking around the room, you've got things that are, they have balance, they have movement, they're definitely working through compositions that, even though they're on the grid,
There's a word for it.
There's the spiral moving through it.
There's a word for it called Fibonacci.
Yes. I was wondering, because I'm like, your sense of design and proportion is so impeccable in all the pieces that you create. And I think about even the use of color, as I'm like looking over here, and I say, all right, how are you balancing some of these elements, right? And because they're not always in a grid, right?
Those in the grid.
And so that leads me
Stay with
to
the green marbles. That is I work in series.
Right.
And I work, and at some point, here, come, I'll show you a perfect example. There's a thing called hollow forms.
Yes.
And now everybody makes a hollow form, and then they do a hole in the top, and then they finish it. But I said to myself, why does a hollow form have to be one piece? Make it two pieces. You have much more opportunity.
Right.
So this is separate from this.
Right.
So I made this. I made that.
Right.
See?
So you problem solve.
And I made a lot of them.
Right.
And then I made this.
Oh.
That's nailed down. I know I went too far.
Yeah.
See, that does the whole thing. That doesn't work like this works, or like that works, or like this works. See, this is just silliness. And I have every one of my pieces, I have one that's silly.
Right.
And when I get to the silly one, I know it's time to move on.
Which is, I think about how you manufactured window coverings, right? So I'm like making sure I got you here. And I was thinking, it's interesting that window coverings are called blinds, right? That idea that it's like shutting something out, and that, if you've got blinds, things that would open and close, and they louver and open and close the light. So like on the one hand, we're saying, okay, it's blinding, it's moving it out. But then at the same time, those openings allow you to see through let the light in, but also let you see outdoors or into another space. And like I've been in the craft world and exposed to wood turning for 30 years now. And I remember 30 years ago, there were people starting to pierce forms. There was an English artist that was pretty well known for piercing. And you kind of blew that up, like way more than just taking a tool and, piercing just little sections. But you started creating work that really invited the viewer to see the inside of the form as much as the outside.
Okay. What you want to understand is I have absolutely no artistic vocabulary.
No, but you have the sense, right? So when I think about this, right? So in artistic vocabulary,
you're looking at right there. It's a 5-sided hollow object.
Right, but that 5-sided hollow object is in a perfect proportion.
Yeah.
And everything's been thought through, and I can see you through this form.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
It's a distorted view. It creates a movement. If you move this, it's like you're moving like a film, right?
Yeah.
And I can see the relationships. It's like this active piece. So even though it's a shape, like this is holding water and this is holding light.
Oh, okay.
Right? And this is also holding light, but it's holding light in a different way. And so in drawing, for example, in art, they always talk about negative space. Have you ever heard about negative
I've
space?
heard negative space. That's why I make these things. I have to control the size of the slot. Mm-hmm. If I make the slot too big, it looks like buck teeth.
Right. So what's not there is as important as what is there.
What is there? Right. Yes. What you take away is as important as what you leave.
Right. And so I think it's really interesting that you sort of went to the forms, but now with the Kumiko, you're sort of playing yet with another, like within a framework, a whole nother series of patterns. And
Kumiko was not three-dimensional. Kumiko was two-dimensional. It's a flat surface. Mm-hmm. And they put shapes in that surface, but it is essentially a two-dimensional craft. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't abide by that.
Right.
I had to take it off the page, so to speak, and have it come up. Because I did 2 or 3 pieces, and it's just really boring. It gets tiresome. You know, that piece on the wall. You know, it's nice, but it's basically a two-dimensional piece.
A pattern.
A pattern.
Right.
How you use a pattern is cool, but pattern is painting.
Ooh.
It's kind of neat.
It is.
It's a flower and a bee.
It's great.
But it's still a painting.
It is, but it's interesting how much movement it has because of the colors, right?
That's
like
what does it, yes.
Right. So you're constantly creating a kinetic movement in these solid forms.
Yes, I try to put movement in it. That's true. Yeah. And
But it's funny, like whenever I meet you, you're quietly observing, but like I can just see that you're bubbling with energy. You know, and
that's good news and bad news.
No, it is, but it's neat to see it like emerge.
Yeah.
You know, it is really interesting. So I'm gonna go back to the wood turning because I know that you've done this for your heart and soul more than a career, right? But you could, but it's not a career.
This is food.
But food for the soul.
Yeah.
But you have been every bit as successful as someone who says this is what I'm going to do for a living. And you know, I know that you've been shown by some of the most important galleries, like the Delmano Gallery, and you have a piece in the Smithsonian, don't you, at the Renwick? So that really speaks to your excellence in the work.
That's my Renwick piece.
Wow.
No. That's not Renwick. That's the Carnegie Mellon.
Carnegie Mellon.
Carnegie in Pittsburgh.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So when I'm curious as to like the wood. Obviously, the wood turning movement exploded in the last 50 years. Like has opened up.
I would say less than that. I would say the wood turning movement started, I would say, in the 80s when they stopped making wooden bowls.
Right.
When people like Bob Stockdale and David Ellsworth and Ron Kent, about maybe 8 or 9 people that I know names of that stopped making wood bowls and started making art.
Right.
Took their craft and made it really, really special. You know, the form and the materials and
a couple of other things that I think are interesting is how you kind of modified, like the way you modified your lathe in order to get the results you wanted. I mean,
that was done in 2002.
mm-hmm.
The story behind that is I went to a wood turning convention, and there's a specialty lathe called a rose engine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any pieces here, the rose engine. But anyway, it's a small machine that the material moves back and forth this way. And you have little cutters, and it's very precision, and you can do really, really wonderful things with it. A rose engine lathe or a Hosefel.
Mm-hmm.
And there are all kinds of mechanical attachments where you can make spirals and whirls and just go crazy with it. But I was coming back on a plane from the convention, and I said, can I make my lathe rock? And so I saw that, and I said, how could I liked the idea of it and what the possibilities were.
Mm.
So that's where I started with, from the rose engine to that.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so then I got to say one other piece. It's really critical to my life. This is a wooden bowl, a platter sort of,
Mm-hmm.
made out of really shitty wood with wood filler in it,
Uh-huh.
and just not very well done. But it was a gift from my neighbor across the lake.
Oh.
We had a house party here, and he brought me this wooden bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to him, "Thank you, Ed. How did you make this?" This was in 1998.
Oh.
I said, "How'd you make this?" He said, "Oh, I got a wood lathe." A wood lathe? Let me see. So we went over to his house, by boat, by the way, and showed me his lathe, and he put a piece of wood on there, and he says, "Give it a shot." It was like a needle in my arm. But that afternoon, literally, I was over at his house by 10 o'clock. By 1 o'clock, I was down in my basement with my lathe. Well, I went through cords of wood. You know how big a cord of wood is?
Yes, I do.
Well, I went through about maybe 3 or 4 cords of wood, just chopping it up and trying to figure it out. So it's like that.
It's like addictive,
Addictive.
from day one.
From day one, it was addictive. And it was lasted 20 years until Matt Kenny got a hold of me.
That's great. I love that.
Yeah, because as soon as I started doing that stuff on the table saw, in his workshop, I said to myself, this got possibilities.
But I see the examples of what has transformed from the flat to these dimensional objects that are like sculptures.
Not this. Wow. But the object is not that. Because corners are bad, seams are bad, holes, it's not uniform.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at this one, which I copied this from, look at the seams here.
Perfect. Yeah.
See that?
Beautiful.
See see those things there like that?
Mm-hmm.
That's not an accident.
Right.
And that's what Kimiko, being Japanese, it was all about perfection.
Mm-hmm.
And getting your seams perfect, like right there.
Right.
Getting all the plastics to come together just like that. So that
Gorgeous.
was an idea I had. kind of cool. I think it's like art sculpture.
It is. It's like a dwelling. It looks almost, it's interesting. Again, you're probably inspired by the space you're in, because when you drive up and you kind of come down, this house has openings and view sheds, even from all the different spaces that you come in and out of, and that has a little bit of that. If you look at it, like it's the front entrance or something of like a fantasy space.
If I showed you my earlier work, you will see how far this is from that. Mm-hmm. Because there's just, I didn't understand. Mm-hmm. The more you work on it, you understand what comes first and what comes second, because there's no going back.
Right.
The spacing has to be right. Everything. Yeah. So the reason I like Kamiko as much as I have is the demand for perfection.
Right.
The form is not so critical. You really don't have much ways. You can do this with it. You can do that with it. But it's really not. I don't think it has as much legs as wood.
Right. Now, do you find that in that exercise of repetitive perfection seeking, is that like meditative for you? Do you get into a flow state where you're like...
That's what I get. Yeah, that's exactly right. Okay. Getting into the flow state is what I really enjoy. When it's suddenly 6 o'clock at night, and I went in at 8 o'clock in the morning, and the day just disappears. Mm-hmm. And it's just you and your hands and whatever it is you got going on, and you watch it happening. I literally sometimes just watch it happening without me being involved. My hands and my brain are working without my consciousness.
I think in karate they call that mind of no mind.
What was it?
And karate, it's like mind of no mind.
Mind. Okay, I would take that word. Yes.
Right, where there's like in karate, I don't know exactly how many moves there are, but there's not that many, and they're repeated over and over again. The pinas, like right, and so you're constantly, repeating. And John, my husband, will say that to me, like, oh, it's like the mind of no mind, and where you've done something so much that it's in you. Like a musician will practice the scales, right? Because you're just like, even Yo-Yo Ma will warm up, and you're getting your brain going with your body, so that you can just let it rip. And that is such an incredible thing that athletes, musicians, dancers, and artists
experience. Don't forget Luke Skywalker.
Right.
That was, I remember when I saw that, I said, aha. Something about him trying to hit that sphere and not being able to do it until Yoda put a blindfold on him.
Right. I think that that's something interesting. And I'm going to go back to the hearing a little bit, because my pottery teacher was going blind when he was my instructor, and it had gotten so bad that he couldn't see very well. So when he was teaching us how to center, and you've tried to do that before, you know what that feels like. And he'd say to us, actually close your eyes.
Close your eyes. There you go.
Close your eyes.
Yes, that makes all sense.
And all of a sudden, it's just your body.
Yeah.
Right?
That's perfect example of it.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because when I teach and somebody's a little choked up because they're overthinking, I'm like, close your eyes. Close your eyes and feel it. And then even when we're trying to like measure, depth, like you can measure thickness, and they're like, I don't know. I'm like, close your eyes, and all of a sudden
it becomes.
So there is something about kind of eliminating so that others can become more keen.
Yes.
And we, if you think about meditating or doing an exercise practice or whatever to get focused into your body, that how hard that is, the practice that is.
I'm gonna. Fiona's been playing guitar now for I don't know how many years, and I wonder. She knows some pieces. I wonder if closing her eyes while playing it, rather than depending upon seeing where you're putting your fingers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna give her that opportunity.
To try it, yes.
Try to put a blindfold on and play a piece.
Yes. And actually, we do that sometimes when I'm teaching the advanced students particular techniques.
Yeah.
We do that where it's like, okay, they're overthinking, and there'll be an exercise where we blindfold and say, okay, now try it, to really develop that sense. And it's super important. So I think there's something interesting about the fact that, you know, kind of physically you had the sounds shut out of the world and kind of the noise to allow you to like get into these flow states, probably easier than people that are like constantly listening to something because that's what they're used to, or the noise around. Like for me in the office, like the noise in the office makes me crazy. I can't concentrate.
Oh.
Right.
Literally unimaginable to hear even what's on the computer right now, sitting over here.
Right.
So
it is interesting the idea of being able to do something enough, like is it the 10,000 hours?
that's what they say.
Right, the 10,000 hours that you put into something that
has no validity though, by the way.
no, probably not. but because some people get it faster than other people.
Yeah.
But the idea behind the doing the work of the process and the repetition to help build those skills is definitely
you need muscle memory.
Yeah.
You need to have muscle memory is critical.
Do you sketch your ideas, or do you have like a visual mind?
Come. In answer to your question. Get a place out along with it. Everything that's not actually sketched is, in fact, you saw that inside
Right.
the piece. This is the menorah. I sketched out the menorah where the lights go, where this goes, where that goes, and that's my hexagon. How big the pieces got to be. This
Ooh.
like that. These are maquettes. I'm going to make this out of much bigger stuff.
I like them.
You see, I work at the angles, how things go.
Wow.
So she said, do I draw them? Yes. I've been drawing them for a while now. Years upon years upon years. Everything gets drawn out somehow. Mostly I figure out where the center is. Then figure out the details on the rims, and parts I'm making.
Did you do that in the office too when you were
Yeah.
designing the machines?
Always
Yeah.
always do layout. Even when I built the shop, I have it here. No. someplace around my layout of the shop.
Nice.
Physically just laying this out, but yes, everything pretty much gets drawn out for scale. Oh, I gotta show you this. Oh.
Ooh, ooh.
I'm working on this. I'm just going to put one on so it doesn't fall off. And this is going to be some music. This is my teacup ride.
How fun.
Is that cool?
That's really cool. That's really cool. That is wild.
But even this, everything is
This is perfect.
perfect. No matter where you go at it, it's perfect.
Wow.
And that's not my.
That is incredible.
I don't know where it came from, but it was.
But that was amazing.
But literally, this whole.
The amazing lathe. Wow. And that's what I remember, that the space was like tiny, but everything's like easy to get to and
Yeah, that's what I like, having things handy
beautiful.
and centers. All my gouges, all my chucks, all my this. Everything has a space and a place.
Wonderful.
No drawers.
No drawers.
No drawers.
Smart.
I say one drawer because I got this thing, all this crap here. It's the only drawer in the shop.
Fantastic.
Everything is otherwise it's all.
Thank you. This is great to see process, because sometimes people see it in their heads.
When you recognize it. And that's that one out there. That,
Oh, that had the little feet.
the little hole in it.
Mhm.
Did you see that one?
Yeah.
This is it was.
Oh. Is it over here? Amazing.
I decided not to do this, but just continue so.
Beautiful.
Anyway, that didn't come out good.
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
an idea, but it really sucks.
But you have to experiment, right?
Yeah.
I had a great teacher in a workshop once say you have to make a lot of stupid things to make the good
You
things.
gotta kiss a lot of frogs.
Kiss a lot of frogs. That's a good one. Okay,
You know,
so
what I heard is
Go ahead.
somebody says, I said, you gotta scramble some omelets. You gotta scramble the eggs to make the omelet. And sometimes you go hungry and sometimes you feast.
yes. Okay,
Keep going. Keep
what
going.
what would you say to your 30-year-old self now that you have had significant experience? Like,
2 words. I know exactly what I would tell you. Wake up. Serious, wake up. You know, pay attention. I was always in my head. You know, so I would say that would be the thing I would tell you most. Wake
Pay
up
attention.
and pay attention to the world, what's happening. You know, it doesn't all happen over here. There's things going on outside there that kind of have effect, but I pretty much hang out in my head.
do you have a dream project? Like, what would your dream project be?
No, I don't have a dream project. You know, because most times when I have a dream about something, I wake up in the morning and I make it.
That's great. I think that's great. Then I don't think I have to ask you how you stay motivated, because you're one of the more motivated people I know. But
Somebody asked me, where do my ideas come from? That's what you're saying.
yeah,
They chase me down the street. You know, I don't have to go looking for them. They find me. You know, have a dream. Have a dream in the evening, overnight, and I wake up in the morning, and I'll make some sketches, and I'll go out to the shop and work on it.
is it? I know that you were never going to retire. I remember, like 10 years ago, you were like,
I have.
But
COVID retired me, because up until 2020, when I was 80 years old, by the way, I was still doing 2 to 3 days a week, going to the shop, you know, move things around, push things here and there. But then when COVID hit, I said to Fiona, let's go up to the lake for a few weeks, and let's not be in the city, because the city had this
epicenter.
Yeah, it was terrible. So we came up here in March 2020. Haven't been back.
Wow.
I mean, I've been back for go to a show, go to a play, and just do things, but live here.
Wow.
Never left.
And
So I'm retired.
And is it, I mean, I would imagine that it's kind of great to just be able to focus on the work.
I am happy as a pig in shit.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
Well, then the only other thing that's more interesting to me, I guess, is as an observation. I know that you always foster other people's creativity. You help people achieve their dreams. And I know that you've helped the robotics club.
Yes.
And
that was a real joy.
yeah.
Playing with the kids, it's really cool.
Are you still involved in that?
No, not as much. I'm still friends with the instructor, but I don't have all that much to offer anymore. You know,
Yeah.
I can't do what I used to do. You know, I used to sail 3-4 hours a day on weekend, and then go out at night. You know, I can't sail anymore. Too much. I get too tired. You know, I'm 83, so you know.
I think that about how environment sort of informs aesthetics, like things that kind of are in our subconscious. And so I think about the water and the ripples and the patterns in the water that are moving.
Yeah.
Right? Like you've got a constant movement around you too with the water.
It's funny. I was born in Brooklyn, Coney Island. From my house to the beach was 2 blocks. So I grew up when I was as a preteen. I grew up in Coney Island on the water. And I've always have had water in my life.
There is something sensory there, right?
Okay. I am.
That is something to contemplate a little bit, I think.
Okay, I would let you imagine that. I don't.
You don't.
I don't see or feel that. No. No. I don't know where it comes from. There is something going on, I would admit, that is informing a lot of this stuff.
Right.
But I don't have any.
But it's not literal. It doesn't have words.
Doesn't have
it's
words.
just happening.
Yeah.
I guess, and that's the thing that curators do, or like literary analysts do, like English professors, when they're like reading words and they're reading into it.
Oh,
And
yes.
sometimes you're like, that could be a bunch of hooey, or maybe they're onto something.
Yeah.
And maybe there's a way in which we make work with certain intention and planning, but there's something else that happens, something else that results. Okay, why do you make? Tell me 3 reasons why you make.
Because if I didn't make, I die.
There you go. That's a much more honest answer.
It's everybody's answer, really. Any real maker, you're a maker, yes. Yeah. Any maker will tell you, if I don't make, I die.
Yeah. Sure.
And even maybe physically.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't know what I would do without that shop. You know?
Right. Yeah.
When things get quiet, you can only play so much salt. You know, I got 60, 70 hours a week to film now. And when you retire, you got to do something. And you find out what you like to do, and you do it.
It's fabulous. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for tuning in. We would like to thank our sponsors for making programs like this possible. If you liked this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel to receive more like it in the future.